Welcome to Intro to the LifeContext template. It goes without saying that all of us at some point have heard the statement, that was taken out of context. Or maybe you've heard something like, give me some context for what you are saying. Really, when you think about it, depending on the focus or the topic or what's being discussed, context always frames your life and how you see yourself, how others may see you, and how you exist and function in life. The Life Context template is designed to provide a means for understanding your context. Where do you fit in the grand scheme of things? In order to understand your context, it is helpful to get an understanding of the concept of context in general. What is context anyway? In simple terms, it's how things work together for a better understanding. But when we consider a dictionary definition of context, it frames a very useful explanation and clarification of the concept in an elegantly structured manner. It can be broken down by some buzzwords found in the definition. These buzzwords break the definition of context into elements that align with and corroborate applications in life. The first applicable phrase has two buzzwords: circumstances that form the setting. What does that mean to you? What could it mean? What's interesting is that even if you just consider the word circumstances, that word itself expresses the definition. If you think about anything occurring, being said, or even being thought of, circumstances do form a setting. An event might be something as simple as the circumstances of going to a restaurant, going there, arriving there, being seated. This forms a setting for having a meal. Other circumstances may frame the context for what type of meal. If it's morning or before noon, the circumstances might be for the setting of having breakfast or brunch instead of dinner. The same can be said about circumstances that form the setting for a statement. Recently, there have been clips on social media where Elon Musk, the founder of Tesla and SpaceX, stated that college was not necessary anymore because with technology and the internet, there are many ways for people to learn and become skilled. The context of that question was related to the validity of going to college versus learning and gaining an education other ways. It was not a discussion about whether he would hire an astrophysicist who had not gone to college, or an engineer for SpaceX that had not gone to college. You can see how this definition of context can really get detailed and granular with an exploration of analogies and examples of applying the definition. A walkthrough of how it can be applied to your life can also be explored. With the definition of context for an event, we see that circumstances form the setting for an event, and the outcome is that the setting of the event is in terms which can be fully understood and assessed. If we consider the setting to be life in general, and the event is your life specifically, then the context, that is life in general, provides the terms of which it, meaning your life, can be fully understood and assessed. Now we begin to see the implications of context and your life and life in general. Context provides understanding of the event, statement, or idea as expressed in the dictionary definition, but there are so many other applications in life and in our lives specifically. This analogy, however, says that the context of the circumstances that form the setting for life in general, for the event, your life, provides the terms of which it, meaning your life, the event, can be fully understood. Not only understood, but assessed. So, some highlights from a dictionary definition of understood are having awareness and insight. Definitions related to assessed include to evaluate or estimate the nature, ability, or quality of a thing. In this case, the nature, ability, or quality of your life. The objectives of the life context template are 1. To provide awareness of the setting of life in general. 2. To understand and assess your life. And 3. To live your life to the full. Now that we have an introduction to the concept of context and the definition as it relates to life and your life, so that your life can be fully understood and assessed as the event in the setting of circumstances that you find yourself in, we can move into a further understanding of your context. Life is happening all around you. Whether you realize it or not, life, in its many manifestations and cycles, is continuous. Whether we are here or not, life was happening before you arrived here and will continue after you are gone. If we consider the fact of life happening all around you all the time, continuously, as the circumstances that form the setting, then we can consider that the circumstances forming the setting, life, provides context for the event. There's life, and then there's your life. This is your life as the event in the setting of life in general. There's life, and then there's your life. Although we can influence life and life circumstances, we really only control our lives and how we engage life in general. More on that in the next module, Life Modes. The next level of context related to understanding your context, now that you've been introduced to your life within the context of life in general, is that within your life specifically, you have some context. Context for your life can be broken down into two categories: who you are within and who you are in your world. These two categories can be further broken down. For the context of who you are within, you have your spiritual and motivational life, your mental and emotional life, and your physical and wellness life. For the context of who you are in your world, you have your social life and how you interact with others, your career and vocational life, your financial life and money, and family relationships life. These categories of your life context are the day-to-day settings and circumstances that form these settings and the related events, statements, and ideas as described in the definition of context. Having an understanding of your context may or should prompt some questions. You may already have very specific answers to these questions, but maybe you haven't considered them from the perspective of having an understanding of your life context, related to life and related to the categories of your life context. Take a moment to review each of these questions and answer them to the extent that you can answer them at this point. As you become more familiar with the Life Context template, you may want to visit these questions to see if there have been some adjustments to your initial answers. Here's an example of a worksheet that you can use to write your answers. You can print the next page and use it as many times as you need. If you commit to actually responding to these questions for yourself, using the context of the elements of who you are within and who you are in your world, then questions about who you are, what you want, why you want certain things may become clear. Answering these questions will begin to frame an even better understanding of your context. Now that you've been introduced to the concept of understanding your context, Move on to the next module in the Life Context template intro, engaging your context.